Hey, welcome back to Cattle Drive Live. It is episode 34, season 2. Corey, how you doing, man?
Hey, we're back at it.
We are. Just seemed like a couple of days ago we kind of starting to get a little bit
Yeah,
of a routine.
get, get
So,
back in the rhythm of things. Been a busy fall.
oh, it has been a busy fall. It's been a good fall. So,
Yep.
but hey, busy show. We probably won't let much grass grow this week. We have got an event planned here for the ages, per se. Amanda Radke is with us. Uh, Fellow, what do y'all call yourselves? South Dakotians? What are y'all?
I guess so.
You are? You
Northern
don't really know? You
South Dakota. South
Yeah,
Dakota.
South Dakota.
Yeah.
Right. No, she is big time news in terms of agriculture. She is a huge advocate for ag. Her and her family, they uh, they don't just talk it; they live it. And it's going to be exciting to get to hear what she does and how she helps influence the positive side of agriculture. So I'm really excited about that tonight. So. As well as we have Jordan Macy Mullet going to be with us here in just a little bit with the G Bar crew. I know they're having a sale out east. Jeannie and John text that they were tied up, but they said, "Hey, this will even better. Jordan and Macy can handle it. They pretty much run the show at home. They can run this." So we'll get to hear from them with fall breeding around the corner. So let's pile right into it, Corey. Segment one, as always, it's the coffee shop. It's current events within agriculture.
Yeah. Boy, like we said, fall's rolling right along full stream. Boy, we're PBRs right around the corner.
Mhm.
Um, they're going to start putting down the green wood chips in Louisville here any day now. We got that trip coming up here pretty quick.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. Tell you what, there's not an event that is as hair raising for me as it is when you round the corner in Freedom Hall to go down that ramp into those green shavings. I mean, that's just that is
Yeah.
an event in itself. And so I think me and you, if things hold together, those of you that like listening to me and you yak at a steer show, we're going to be back in action again at North American commentating the market steer show. So hopefully all that stays hooked up.
That will
But
be cool.
yeah, hey, big news. Kent Jakey,
Yep.
they said that there's video surveillance of him. He was in Stillwater this morning returning all of his orange. He is definitely back a power cat after the weekend football game. Um, but apparently, Oklahoma State was sick, and they sent OU up there in their uniforms. Where K State beat some. We didn't even put a point on the board. You know, it's terrible.
It was like 40. I don't remember scores very good, but I'm pretty sure it was 49-0, wasn't it?
It was less than 50-0. Yeah, so I don't know.
50-0.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, poor Jakey. I don't know. I guess he just lives the best of both worlds. So uh,
I think K State sent him into Stillwater to sabotage you.
I think so. I really do feel like I mean I'm serious. We look like we sent OU up there and let them play for us. It was horrible.
Boy.
But
Yeah.
oh well, hey, just so you know, no bandwagon fan here. Still
You got
Cowboys
to
fan.
do
So
it.
hey, sell season's been good. There's no way around that. Our friends at Innovation sent us some of their highlights for this past month, off and on. Graham Blog sends us some stuff here from the Black Label. It says a tremendous sale in Grandview, 47 open females, average 12,256. Two bred heifers, average 5,400. 49 live lots, average $11,976. They're high sellers. Pardon this. I'm going to have to dig it around here. I'm going to make it work though. I said I was going to. High seller down there at the Black Label was 38,000. It was a Berwick Mari and a counterattack Tiara. think is how you would pronounce that donor's name. Ladies of the Lone Star was another sale over at Red River Farms. That shows the 43 lots average $8,152. Those cattle gross $350,000. I'm gonna have to dig here again. Ladies of the Lone Star, where'd you go? Red River Farm, Circle M, Wallace Cattle, and Rockin' P. High seller was a full sister to national champion Simmental Bull Private Stock.
Oh,
that
yeah.
bull stands there at 605. And the last one that he reported on here was the big sale in Sioux Falls. The crew at Udell Cattle Company, the Advantage Production sale. Corey, one for the ages. 58 lots, average $24,463 to gross $1.4 million. Highlight there at Udell's was lot 2. It was a Casino 502. She bring 500,000. Full sister to the heifer that won the American Royal, the North American, and Reserve at Congress for the Wheeler family last year. Weiss Cattle has a sale. They sell one for 100,000. Was a 24 carat out of a full sister to the $500,000 Casino daughter that sells at Udell. Willie had bought her a couple of years ago. So thanks to the crew at Innovation for filling us in and letting us know a few things to report. Steer Bidder, they send us an October sale report that's pretty nice, Corey.
Yeah, they did. I'll just give you a few highlights. Our friend there, Ty Webster at Webster Cattle, he grosses. He sells 33 lots for $10,242 to gross $338. And then our friends at Joe Hare there, Show Cattle, they sell 38 lots for $15,427 to gross $586, $250. Then those Fouts from Iowa there, they sell 9 head for $12,094 to gross $108.84. And we got one more here. The friends there at Marchesing's Show Cattle there. They sell 24 head, average $84.93 to gross $203.850. Interesting part about this deal, and we did this earlier this year from the September report that they gave us. I think in that report they had sold, I think it was a little over 800 head in the month of September, and the average on the sales then it was 85.49. Now I don't know where did we start and stop here? We started. This is from October 17th till October 29th. They sell 398 live lots of cattle to gross $2,822,474 to average 7,100.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the cattle are still selling well. Good cattle are in demand for sure.
Yeah, there is no doubt about it. Good cattle are in demand, and people are still wanting to buy the cattle. But I'll tell you what is fixing to happen here, Corey. Guys are fixing to check up that show barn for just a minute. And I'd say we're fixing to roll over to that cow barn in my country. And we're starting to get into some guys that are really honing in on sires to use for this fall calving situation. And I think that's where we're going to bring in Macy and Jordan Mullet, representatives from Griswold Cattle. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Busy.
Good.
Always
busy.
something.
Yeah, you guys more than anybody would like a break from the show barn this time of year, getting ready for the classic.
The last weekend has been very tiring.
I'd much rather do cow work than be in the show barn.
There you go. You bet. We talked to John and Jeannie earlier today, and yesterday, I guess, they were at the teat sale. They said Jordan and Macy are at home, and we would love to have them included on Cattle Drive and let them visit with you just a minute about what the G-Bar has up their sleeve this fall in terms of sires and maybe some sires that you guys are noticing people are pulling towards?
Well, we've kind of dipped into shipping our own semen here in the last few weeks. And I tell you, Bet on Red has definitely been, I mean, every single person asks about him or wants him or is ready to flush to him. I've had plenty of people ask when we're going to sex him. That's definitely flying out the doors. So that's been probably the number one phone call. And I think Jordan's actually seen several of them, and that's definitely working.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, we've been getting ready for the classic and kind of clipping on those babies a little bit here the last couple weeks, getting ready for pictures. And we clipped a Bet on Red today out of a Relentless. That'd be a 3/4, and she's good. She's really, really good. It'll be excited to see her here in the next couple months. And I mean, she's definitely probably one of the best ones that we've gotten to sale. So it's really exciting to have a good Bet on Red to start off his career kind of. So it's really exciting. Move across there, and you got Bank on it. We've had a lot of Bank on it calves this year. That's the exciting part, I think, about the fall. It's not only sale season, but you get to see those calves in like the bull's first calf crop and kind of read and analyze kind of what they're going to be like. And the Bank on it's around here, I mean, they might not be show cattle, every single one of them, but they're just good, solid, functional cattle. They're all burly. They all have a lot of middle to them. They're all sound. They're just good, functional kind of cattle. So I think that's exciting for Bank on it. And then below that, we got New California. And I think, I mean, we don't have any calves out of him yet, obviously, because he's just young. But, I mean, we've got him out here in the show barn getting him ready for display this winter. And he looks really good. Jeannie posted a video the other day of him just kind of in his working clothes going out of the barn. But he's dang sure exciting, and look forward to seeing him.
A lot of people ask about him as well. That's real high in demand lately, is wanting to know what we're going to do with him, what are his plans later on. But I mean, the only answer we have right now is he's going to Congress, or Denver, whatever the sites may be. So
Awesome.
All bulls around here are exciting, and like I said, the calves had a Bet on Red and Bank on it. They dang sure have met expectations of kind of what we all thought when we bought them, and so I think that's really exciting.
Right. Gotcha. That Red Bull, that Bet on Red, I mean, is that, I think the bull's quality, no doubt, it's what everybody's talking about. But are people gravitating to that Red Baldy?
I think so. A lot of people said it kind of early on that they were getting more Red Bank on it, but here in the last 2 weeks, they've said that they've had more reds with Bet on Red. So that's kind of exciting too. But, there's always other options people do for the Red Baldies. But I think people are kind of gravitating to Bet on Red after they've seen the first calf crop, that he's kind of the combination bull. He's the red, but he's the powerhouse. And so that's definitely exciting to see it kind of come full circle so early on. So.
And red is hot. Everybody wants a red one right now. And if you've got a good red one, it's the home run, I think. And he dang sure makes them look good. I mean, he puts a long neck in one. I mean, he doesn't sacrifice any power. They're all sound. They're all just good, functional, good looking cattle, which is, what we try to strive for around here. So the Simmental are exciting.
Gotcha. Good deal. What about the main Anjou side? Anything kicking around over there?
Definitely Game On, especially since we just recently got Game On going. I actually saw him today. I drove up, and he's kind of a puppy dog, so I went and scratched and loved on him. But he's probably my main bull that I'm shipping out the most semen on right now. Everybody's kind of asking, where he's at. And I actually had 2 people on Monday and Wednesday last week. They wanted to go see him, and so they went and saw him. And Cody was over there and kind of showed him around. So that's exciting for that time of year that we have bulls here that they can come see us at the office and then go see the babies and the bulls. So that's exciting. But Game On is definitely something that we're excited for here at Griswold's. We've bred a lot of cows to him, and I'm shipping out a lot of semen on him as well. I know Jordan's really high on him too.
Oh yeah. Everybody's asked what main bull I like and what to breed to. And Game On's always the first one I list. He's just a good functional kind of bull. He stoutens them up, gives them some power, but I mean, he dang sure keeps the look in them. We actually clipped a game on today out of a full sister to Boston, and for a high main, I think she's going to be really, really exciting once she kind of comes on later this fall. So I mean, those high main game ons are really good. And heck, last year we sold just a tainer, a game on just out of an Angus cow, and they're good too. So I think no matter what you use him on, I think it's going to work. You're not going to sacrifice any power with him. I can guarantee you that. But they're still just good, functional, good looking kind of cattle. So that's
something
exciting.
too. A lot of people ask, I've kind of gotten the question here in the last few weeks. Well, does he look like a high main? I'm like, what are you talking about? But whenever Jordan talks about it, like, yes, but they're functional. They're still soft. They're not just like a hard doing cattle that people think of whenever you say that word. And I think that's a word that we should kind of stray away from. So,
Yep.
And then talk about the new bull is Old Money. Again, like New California, we don't have any calves out of him yet, but I can guarantee you that we flushed just about every main cow on the place to Old Money last spring. So that's how much confidence we have in him. And again, like New California, he's here in the show barn, and we've been feeding on him here for a couple months now, and we're getting him geared up to go on display here this winter. And it's exciting. His picture there, he kind of looks young and hasn't grown into himself, and that's the opposite right now. He's
definitely
manly,
a man.
and he's all there. So he'll be exciting to kind of show everybody this fall. And he's just another really good Gar son backed by Boston. I mean, how could you go wrong using that bull? I guess just backed with a bunch of power, and that's what it's all about. So.
Yeah. Hey, one of the highlights at our place is that bull in the upper right-hand corner there, that Good Times bull. No matter what kind of cattle you like, that's one that sure everybody comments on.
People are using him, semi, main, Angus, it doesn't matter. There's a lot of people that are on the Good Times train, and we're super excited about that. We flushed a lot of mains and semis to him here, and I think whenever we set up our fall flush, that's what we're going to do as well. He's definitely making them, and I've seen several cattle at PBFs and other places, and they're definitely already bringing the heat. So,
yeah, for sure. Those those Good Times, they're the real deal. They're hairy, they're good looking, they're stout for Angus. I mean, they're good. We have, like Macy said, flushing him to some mains and semis, and we actually got to do him to Boots and Boston before they passed away. And there's going to be a Good Times Boston in the Classic that we haven't got to clip, and we haven't got to clip her yet, but she's got me real excited. I think for a quarter blood main, she is legit. She's the real deal. So it'll be exciting. It's neat when a bull like that can work in so many different aspects of the deal.
Already so young as well.
And they're not just show cattle. I mean, they're good, solid, functional cattle. I mean, we have a bunch of Good Times running around here that are just going to be replacements for next year's sale, and they're good. They're just really good cattle. So that's exciting. That's kind of what we're known for around here, I guess, is just good functional cattle. And he definitely brings that to the table with a little extra pizzazz and punch to it. So,
hey, in the last bull, that bottom left-hand corner, the Good to Go bull that you guys own with Van Hoves up here in South Dakota. Here I am, son. Boy, that bull there is rolling this year. Robbie sells $60,000 steer out of him. There was that fountain sale that was real good on Steer Better the other night. They sold a $30,000 market heifer out of him, and just countless 5-digit cattle all over the world, it seems like.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We haven't seen many good to goes here at the ranch. We don't utilize club calf stuff around here as much, but from what I've heard and what John and Jeannie kind of saw when they went up there to Van Hoves and everything, he's the real deal when it comes to making those steers. And I think that's exciting. It's a little bit of a different twist than what everybody's used to around here, but it's exciting that we have a bull like that can kind of go out there and work for our different kind of a customer base for everybody. So it's pretty exciting about that.
I think the thing with him as well is everybody just keeps complimenting about how, well, he's just been such a good feeder. Well, he's been a good feeder. I even kind of talked to somebody on the phone not too long ago that said they had a heifer that was just going to be replaced by heifer, but she was just so easy feeding. And so that kind of made him a little more excited. And he actually ended up buying a whole other cane to use for replacement heifers. And I thought that was, at the time, I thought it was odd, but the more we kind of go into it, I think that it's been good to see that he's kind of being a multi-use bull, and the easy feeding and the steers are going in hand.
Be exciting to see if his daughters can go on and kind of help make those good steers here in the future and kind of be those good club calf mamas. So it'll be exciting to see how that kind of plays out in the years to come. So
Absolutely.
No doubt about it, guys. I got to tell you, thank you for taking the time this evening to get on here and join our party. Hope you get to stick around for Amanda here in a minute. This is something that Corey and I visited about quite often, but we couldn't do it without people like you guys and Griswold being a part of us throughout the year here. We want to take the time to say thank you for that.
Hey, you bet.
Always.
Glad to be a part of it.
Hey, we'll see you in a little over a month. Get them pictures taken.
Yeah, it's going to be fast and furious the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, hey, thank y'all.
Yep, you bet.
Have a good night.
You bet. Take care. That's two young ones right there that are excited about this business, and they're good for the business, and it's always a pleasure to have them on, Corey. So
Absolutely.
tell you what, this next one, I'm going to have to throw it to you. You and Amanda go back much farther than we do. So you drive the bus here for a minute.
Yeah.
The show, and
We got the honor and the privilege to have Amanda Radke with us tonight. Amanda, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Long time no see. We were just together
Yeah.
at the show today.
I know. We in Weston Springs there had 2 jackpot shows this weekend, and been doing a little getting them broke. And do you have any getaway?
No, thankfully. It's my daughter's first year, so that's like the number one goal. Just have her smiling as she leaves the ring. So mission accomplished. Yep.
That's right.
I love that you said, did anybody get away? And it's our first year. That was always our rule with the boys. The first show, you wanted to be attached both in and at the outgate. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was so nervous at the state fair this year. It was her first time in the ring. And of course, the heifer comes into heat the day before the show. And oh man, I just volunteered as the ringman so I could follow her in because I just couldn't even handle it. But everything's okay.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, Amanda, give us, for those of us that don't know you, give us your background, history of your family, with agriculture and kind of how you grew up and give us kind of the whole story.
Yeah. Well, I grew up north of Mitchell, South Dakota. I'm a limousine girl. So my parents and grandparents started Knowles Limousine. We sell bulls, private treaty, as well as consignment sales like the Black Hill Stock Show and Sioux Empire Farm Show. I went to SDSU and met a Minnesota boy on the meats judging team. So we were judging ribeyes together, and turns out he had Maine-Anjou, and I was giving him a hard time that, limousine, they cut better. And he comes out to me and he says, well, my main steer at the state fair just went prime and yield grade 1. And so then, okay, now we're talking. And so we ended up bringing him, this Minnesota boy, back to South Dakota, and he brought mains with him. And so we operate Radke Cattle Co. as well, and we sell females and steers for sale, private treaty, as well as consignments. We'll have some at the Black Hill Stock Show, some really salty bulls as well that we're pretty excited about. And so we operate the 2 breeds and raise 4 kids and just kind of wear a lot of different hats to kind of keep all the balls in the air.
And I've been to your place several times, and I tell you, sometimes it's hard to tell the limousines and the Maine-Anjous apart a little bit.
Getting to be that way, isn't it?
They're getting to look. They're just good cattle.
Yeah, that Sioux Bull you checked out, he's really coming hard. You got to come back out. I think
I know.
2 days after weaning that you came, so it's not the best look.
he's really good and unique pedigree. You bet.
Yeah, we're excited about him.
Absolutely. Yep. Hey, and I was telling Brett the story. If for those of you that didn't see it on social media, but it really blew up. Tell us this Ellen DeGeneres show. obviously, I guess she contacted you. What spurred that on to where her people actually got a hold of you?
Yeah, so this was 2019 before the world kind of flipped and
Yeah.
went crazy on us. But Ellen had posted a video saying it would be neat if everyone ate less meat. And I first watched that video and I was so torqued, as so many of us would be, because she was talking about how meat was bad for human health. And of course, it, ends an animal's life and it's bad for the environment. And that night I went to speak at a Black and Bridal meeting talking to these ag students about the importance of sharing our story. And I realized I was kind of being a hypocrite because when I saw that Ellen video, I just thought, oh, this dumb celebrity, what the heck? Like, I'm just going to ignore it. I don't have time for this. And then after my speech, I got in the car and I started reading her comments on that video, and it was thousands and thousands of people saying they were going to give up beef because of that video. And so I figured I better practice what I preached and tell my story. And so I went out into the pasture with all of our calves and I held up a sign that said, "Dear Ellen, this South Dakota beef producer would love to come on your show." And then I just wrote her a letter that said, I'm a ranch mom and here's why I eat meat, and it's for the exact same reasons why you don't. And it's for human health. It's for planetary health. And here's how we treat our animals as well. And I would love to have this conversation. That letter immediately went viral, millions and millions of views. I was contacted by 40 plus media outlets outside of agriculture, which was awesome, to debunk some myths about the beef industry. And Ellen's team didn't know about it. I knew that it was never going to happen when I saw that she was heavily sponsored by fake meat companies. And so she was not having me on her show. But I had a whole crew of cattle women that were like buying their tickets to LA because they were so certain I was going to go on her show and talk about it. But I still counted a victory, even though I didn't get to go on her show, simply by default of those millions of views and those opportunities to speak with these mainstream media outlets about, cow farts and all of those different misconceptions that are out there about who we are and what we do in the beef industry.
Wow.
That's interesting. It doesn't go without being said. You didn't just wake up one morning and have this idea that meat's healthy for you, and I'm going to argue with Ellen. This is something that you're very passionate about, and you have no problem standing up against mainstream media. What was that like being contacted by outside sources? Did you at that point realize my voice is bigger than maybe I ever thought it would be?
It took me by surprise. And honestly, I've been doing this a really long time. Probably my first interaction with a celebrity was as a high school senior. I think, Corey, you judged my county fair that year. So that's how far back we go. But
Hey, wait, was Corey the celebrity?
No, but he picked my sister's heifer instead of mine to win. So there was like I was pretty mad at him to show that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, I was an FFA member at the time and headed to college and competing at the National FFA Convention for extemporaneous speaking. And Carrie Underwood had been invited to sing at the conference. And at that time, she was on American Idol wearing a V is for vegan t-shirt and talking about how she gave up meat because she saw animal abuse on the farm she grew up in as a teen. And she was promoting the Humane Society of the United States, which is a huge animal rights group that has a $400 million annual budget. They spend less than 0.5% actually helping dogs and cats. And instead, this organization focuses on litigation, legislation, lobbying, and frankly, attacking farmers and ranchers and livestock owners and putting them out of business. And so that was the first year Facebook was created. So that's, I'm old, but I used that Facebook platform to encourage FFA members to buy a ticket to the concert and then walk out of the concert hall when Carrie was introduced. And it was really perfect. It was Jason Aldean had his song, the Take the Tractor, the Another Round song was the last song he played. And then Carrie was introduced and 1,000 kids walked out of the concert hall that day. that was kind of my start into poking the bear a little bit, much to my parents.
That was on national news, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty nuts. And FFA wasn't too happy. They were losing a lot of sponsors. People were, I mean, I had a dear friend that was an FFA officer at the time that was begging me to stop. And I was getting a lot of attacks even at 18 years old. But I just knew that HSUS was the PETA that we should actually take seriously, because they legitimately do not believe that we should own animals, that they are not private property, that they should have citizenship. And they just chip away at it by passing, ballot initiatives that make it harder for us to maintain ownership of animals. And I knew I needed to sound the alarm on that, because it seemed like people just had no idea who HSUS was.
Wow. And I want to back up there. You said, like, Ellen, she gets sponsored by fake meat companies to basically try to sway her viewers that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's just like any sponsor. You kind of align with your values or your interests. And she's a vegan, so she probably is eating, the fake meat. But yeah, I knew she wasn't going to have a cowgirl come on and talk about beef, no matter how hard I pushed. But I had a contact that with a staff member of Ellen's, and they definitely had read my letter. They definitely were aware of it. And I mean, it was kind of in the background that maybe it was going to happen, but at the end of the day, I don't know. And honestly, I don't know how I would have approached it had I actually gone on the show, because it's like such a serious topic, and then you got to be funny, but also fight this vegan activist. It would have been a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Oh, that is for sure.
So carry us into your lifestyle. You hit on it a minute ago. Your family's involved in the cattle business. Your kids are involved. You grew up showing and exhibiting cattle. Talk to us a little bit about how you advocate today for exhibiting cattle, and what some challenges are that maybe are behind the door that some of us haven't seen yet.
I think anybody who goes to a cattle show has had that encounter with the city folks that come to the fair and want to see all the sights and sounds. And part of that appeal is getting to the beef barn and wanting to pet a cow, and we've all had it where you're in the throes of it and you're trying to fit and hurry up and get to the staging area so you can get to your class, and some mom with 6 kids in a stroller, pushes up to you, and the last thing you want to do is have a conversation with this woman. And I think that's what I speak at a lot of, breed association events for juniors and kids that are really active in showing. And I know they're so passionate and they love what they do, but I like to remind them that they are maybe the only rancher or farmer that these people are ever going to meet in their entire lives. And they are the front lines of being the storytellers. And there's a lot of great things that livestock exhibitors do to put a professional face to the beef industry. And so I try to encourage them to find ways to have those conversations while also balancing it with, hey, we just spent a lot of time and money to be at this show, and we're here to do a job. And, this is not what I want to deal with right now. So that's something I like to talk to with kids. And I guess I could offer some advice if you'd like me to rattle off some things.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So one of the things, I've told kids is, if you get in that heat of that moment and the paint's flying and you're trying to rush to the ring and you have that encounter, is one thing that my family does is we'll say, we're really busy right now. We're getting this calf ready and it's going to be really cool. We're going to bring her up to the ring and you can watch us up at the ring, and you send them that direction. And then we say, come by and visit us afterwards. And that's really worked out well to not be rude, not be snippy, not cut them off, but just say hey, there's things going on. Here's what we're doing. Let's talk later. And we've actually had people come back to our stall after they come to the ring and watch and see what's going on. Another thing I always tell folks is so often in agriculture, we react to questions in 2 ways. We either get super defensive because, it's something that puts us on edge, that we feel like we have to defend what we do and why we do, or we laugh and we just say, you dumb city slicker, what the heck do you know? And neither one of these reactions really lend itself to having that great relationship, building with the public. And as much as we hate to admit it, it is the voting public, it is the general public that decides, number one, with their dollars when they go to the grocery store, if they're buying beef or not. And number two, when they go to the polls and they vote for politicians that either understand agriculture or they don't. And so having them on the same team as us is really important, whether we realize it or not. And so that's a big focus of what I do, just on a bigger scale. I write children's books and travel across the country. I've been from Los Angeles to New York City reading these books. And it's all in an effort to introduce kids who would never be able to learn about agriculture to a real life rancher and get to make that positive impression that they'll think about then, hopefully when they're adults and making buying decisions and voting decisions.
Well, and it's just, you never know who's watching and who you're going to run into at those shows, and boy, this industry is sure getting some heat, and I've talked to several people on both coasts that don't think we're, managing our land right out here, and that we could be doing stuff different to be able to raise more food, and stuff. And boy, agriculture, if we don't keep the coast educated on what's going on with it, the news media kind of makes it up as it goes, it seems like.
Pretty much. It gets rather frustrating. And, on the animal rights activist front, I really genuinely thought when the pandemic hit that, they would take the pedal off the metal a little bit, because we were all just trying to figure things out and survive and get through it and, take care of our families and make decisions for our families. But they really ramped up their efforts in the last couple of years. An example is in Chicago, horse carriage businesses were banned. That's 100-plus-year-old businesses. It's agritourism. The city council pushed that through. And so these families that have some horses and make a really good living driving tourists around in Chicago no longer have that opportunity to run that business. And then, if we think about, that's not the beef industry, what do I care? But it extends to different segments of agriculture. We see big coffee houses like Starbucks talking about not carrying dairy milk anymore, and we see the fur industry being attacked and the wool industry being attacked and leather. In Los Angeles, they're going after pony rides, rodeo, animal exhibitions, circus animals, horse racing, and all of those things kind of have a theme, which is animal ownership and using those animals, whether it's for, a business or entertainment or you name it. And so, yes, I mentioned Chicago and Los Angeles, and that seems a really far away from Mitchell, South Dakota, but it's setting a precedent that these animal rights activists aren't really going to quit until they can impact our industry and eliminate animal ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I for sure don't want to get into politics, I guess, per se. I think we're all probably on the same page, but let's just leave that in the middle of the road. I think last year we understood, I guess I was always under the impression that the middle part of the U.S., where although spread out, our numbers will matter in the end, and we can outvote the big city. I think we just learned in this last election, if we don't take our voice to that city, we're up against a fight that we don't probably want to have to fight every 4 years. And it's people like you that's opened my eyes to the importance to not just staying in my lane, but making sure that when I am at a bigger city, that I am more of an advocate for ag and in a positive light. And I would have never thought that through had it not been for following, you're somebody that I follow through social media, but I think that's a great job on your part, but you've done as much for somebody like me, opening my own eyes.
Well, it can get uncomfortable at times for sure, but there's so much at stake. And maybe to bring it closer to home for your listeners, look at Denver and how the city changed and how that impacted our favorite show of the year there. And look at Minneapolis or the Twin Cities where the Minnesota State Fair is. I mean, there were exhibitors that, because of all of the riots and the crime and the things going on there politically, didn't feel it was safe to take their steers to the big city to show. And so as we kind of see the changing dynamics in urban areas, it absolutely impacts what we do, because that tends to be where our big major shows are as well. And so, and I don't want to have it be an us versus them situation, because what I found in the last couple of years with the pandemic, when the shelves were bare and people were panic buying, you couldn't even buy a deep freeze because people were wanting to buy beef and stockpile it up. And what I found is there's so many people in big cities who actually want to champion for agriculture, because they see that beef is becoming more expensive and out of their budget. And they see that ranchers are being attacked, and they know that those two are connected, and they want to be able to continue to eat beef and feed it to their families. And they actually become bigger champions than you and I could ever be, because they're observing and seeing, and we're bringing them along for the ride to fight alongside us.
Absolutely.
I've stunned you into silence. I apologize. Did that get super heavy? We can talk about something fun and hearted.
Hey, I tell you another thing. Tell us a little bit about what another thing that you do, and a big part of your life is your books.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what brought that on. I don't even know the answer to this. And kind of how that developed.
Sure. So in 2011, a movie called Barnyard came out, where the cow walks and talks on his back legs, and he's a boy, but he had an udder, and it was just like a catastrophe. And it was kind of a light bulb moment for me, that I noticed most movies and books and cartoons about farming are all just cartoonish, where the animal has the full range of emotions and the personality, and the farmer is usually the bad guy or the side character in the background. And so I really wanted to flip the narrative on that. And so in 2011, myself and Michelle Weber, who's a big Red Angus breeder out of Minnesota, we teamed up, and she illustrates the books and I write the books, and we created a publishing house together called Ag Storytellers. And we're currently working on our 8th book together, just trying to teach kids about where their food comes from. And so, yeah, it's been very rewarding. And now having 4 kids that can kind of come with me to schools and library events, and we bring bottle calves and do the whole 9 yards when we go places. It's been a lot of fun, and it's amazing what kind of questions the kids come up with, when they're trying to stump the cowgirl.
So where could somebody find these books? You just hit on that. Where could somebody go to look to find some?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. AmandaRadke.com.
Okay.
And when they go there, I noticed today it was really cool. I sell T-shirts, and that kind of was a pandemic project for me. I sell shirts that have like farm messages on them. And I had a year's worth of speaking engagements that were canceled. And I thought, well, I got to make payments on the farm somehow. So I started creating these T-shirts, but it's actually become a really cool movement where people that maybe would be too shy to have a conversation with somebody, their shirt says it all, and that sparks the conversation. So it's amazing. If I wear a shirt that just says beef on it, how many people will come and approach me in an airport, or and in my Uber rides, or at a hotel when I'm traveling. And so it's like a more subtle way for the introverted advocate to still talk about agriculture. And that idea kind of sparked. I was in an airport 10 years ago coming out of New York City, and a guy saw I was wearing cowboy boots. And he asked, are you a cowgirl? And well, yeah, and we had this great conversation back and forth. And I gave him my card and said, if you ever have questions about agriculture, give me a holler. I never heard from him until the pandemic. And this is actually a pretty hilarious story. Did you guys watch Tiger King?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's my neighbor.
Yeah. Who didn't?
Yeah.
It's like show cattle people, but with like meth, it's like a lot going on, but I'm just kidding. But anyway, Tiger King came out, and this guy from New York City I'd met 10 years ago gives me a call, and he says, hey, cowgirl, you remember me? And no, I didn't, but he told me his name. So I looked him up on Facebook, and well, this guy was from Wall Street. So when we had originally met, he had said, I had asked him, like, oh, what, I said, what do you want to learn about the cattle industry? And he had asked me, well, what do you want to learn about Wall Street? And the question I had asked him was, are y'all as crooked as you sound in the news? And he said yes, actually. So we've been so I said, okay, hey, Wall Street, how you doing? I see you got a wife and kids, you're all grown up now. And he says, well, yeah, but I'm calling for a serious question. I said, okay, shoot. And he says, well, did you see Tiger King? I said, yeah, I saw Tiger King. The news was depressing. I needed a distraction, and he says, yeah, that show was crazy. And he says, well, did you hear about the tigers in the Bronx Zoo? And 2 tigers had gotten COVID during that time. And so I knew what he was getting at, because at that time on my blog, we were answering a lot of consumer questions like, using veterinarians as resources. Does COVID travel from livestock to people, or is it on the surfaces of meat and things like that? So I knew what he was getting at. And I said, yeah, here's what veterinarians are saying about COVID. And then he says, well, the reason I'm asking is because I have this cat and I'm thinking I need to take it to the animal shelter because I don't want it to give my girls COVID. And I asked the guy, I said, have you left your apartment lately? Remember, this is New York City in the middle of 2020. And he says, no, everything's shut down. We haven't left in weeks. And I said, please don't get rid of your cat. You need the companionship. And he says, okay. And then he says, okay, here's my next question. And then it got really serious. And he says, there's not any beef in the grocery store in New York City right now. All the shelves are bare. Do you ship beef? And I don't ship beef. We sell locally. So I was immediately kicking myself. Like, here's this rich guy on Wall Street that wants to buy beef and I'm not ready. But I said, you know what? I don't sell beef, but I have friends who do. He interviewed 5 of my friends who sell beef and ship it online, and all based on his values and what he was looking for. And within a week, he had beef delivered to his apartment complex in New York City during a global pandemic when the Big Apple was completely shut down. And the reason I tell that story is because to me, advocacy isn't just sharing a fluffy story. It is solving people's problems. It is looking for solutions. And for those of us in agriculture, we have a great solution, which is we can raise really high quality food. And people right now that are dealing with high food and fuel prices, they're struggling to make ends meet. But it's you and I in agriculture who can solve those issues and connect with people and help them buy meat for their freezers on a budget.
Right. Yeah, we don't realize what those people away from South Dakota or Oklahoma, their vision of us really are. You were talking about how you can wear a beef shirt and people talk to you. The first time something like that happened to me, a couple of years ago, my wife and I went to California. I judged a show. And when the show was over, we went and spent 2 days at Carmel Beach on the Pebble Beach. And we were checking in the hotel that night, and I was standing there and judging attire, I guess, jeans and boots. And this little boy behind me was tugging on his mom's arm and was pointing at me, like right behind me. And I had a cowboy hat on. And he said, Mom, that's a real cowboy. And that was the first time I'd ever had that. And so I got in the car and I told Lacey, I said, hey, you got to hear this story. And she said, you do realize that the only cowboy that kid's ever seen is Woody off Toy Story. I was I felt like the Marlboro Man, I felt like John Wayne. And she busted my balls.
But that's exactly, I am truly convinced if people could meet us in rural America and these flyover states, they would fall in love with us because those fundamentals are just there. Even just the show today, that focus on family and parents, coaching their kids and helping them get to the ring and doing this thing together as a community. Not everybody has that. And these are just some really great ways to raise kids. And I just genuinely think people would fall in love with us if they had the chance to just get to experience our life just a little bit.
Absolutely. Hey, do you got any trips planned with your friend, Mr. Luce down there in Nebraska in the near future?
Nothing on the agenda, although he's always got something up his sleeve. We just did a
the videos you guys had up from that trip you made there. Was it earlier this year or this spring or something?
Yeah, we went to Mississippi and spoke at the same meeting, but got to go to some high caliber Brahmin sales that were, I mean, they were like wearing tuxes and like dresses with heels. Those people were ready to spend some money that day. So that was a pretty cool experience.
That's wild. That is wild.
I guess I was a little underdressed for the show. I was just in jeans, you know, or the sale.
Well, I got to tell you, this has been our pleasure to have you on, and I can't tell you enough what it means for Corey and I to have you. Corey said from the get-go, said when we get going, I really want to have Amanda on here really bad, and it was at that point I started to follow you on social media, and I felt like a buffoon for not prior to, even though that we're both, all three of us, I guess, have Maine Anjou roots, and so it's yeah, it's been great having you. Thank you for taking the time. And more than that, thanks for being an advocate for the beef industry.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I enjoyed the conversation and look forward to meeting you in person one day, hopefully very soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for what you do. Tell Tyler I'll be by here in the next couple of weeks.
Sounds good. We'll have the coffee on.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks.
Wow. I tell you what, that's a chore what she does, you know?
Yeah. I tell you what, you and I, we stay pretty busy and wrapped up in it, but boy, just talking to her for 20 minutes there, it gives you a different way of thinking about the industry and kind of, how other people look at it and how it's perceived,
Yeah. About month ago or so, another social media, once I started following Amanda and saw what she was doing, I got to where I started following more and more. There's a lady that just lives just to the west of me over here. I've shared some of her scriptures on the next segment before, but she's a huge beef advocate here in Oklahoma. She works with beef, she works with the state level on some stuff, and so Jeannie Yardley, that's our Jeannie Griswold. I'm sorry, I call her Jeannie Yardley. She's still Jeannie Yardley to me, but that's somebody else that if you really get into it, they don't mind standing up against the norm. And there's a lady from Florida. I've reached out to her a couple of times through social media, but her names are on social media. They call her the Farm Babe, and she takes a direct approach to showing the East and West Coast exactly what happens in, as Amanda dubbed it, the flyover states. And so she takes it and shows where and how strawberries are done, and it's just really neat. I've reached out to her a couple of times trying to get her on, and she's got a busy schedule, so if anybody has an in there, pry on her just a little bit. I just think it's really cool to listen to those folks. So absolutely. Anyway, hey, let's wrap this little thing up with Cattlemen for Christ. And this, we at church Sunday school class fixing to start breaking down the book of Mark, Corey. And when I flipped my Bible open this morning in Sunday school, the overview of the book of Mark, there was a verse worth memorizing, and it said, "It is what comes from inside that will defile you. For from within, out of a person's heart, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, wickedness, deceit, lustful desires, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. All of these vile things come from within. They are what will define you." I thought that was interesting. That was Mark 7:20 to 23. So, sometimes what defines you is what's inside. I read a little deal on social media earlier today that said it's usually those that worry about their image that have the dirty heart. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but after reading that today, it sure made me wonder. So anyway, well, have a good week. We'll fire this thing up next week. Again, we're going to try to get back on a little more general schedule here as fall. So
you don't have football anymore on Monday nights.
What's that?
Said you don't got no more football on Monday night.
I have no more football on Monday nights, and I assume that me and you are probably as good as Monday Night Football, so our ratings ought to just go sky high. Now
You
that
got
people know. So, hey, we're approaching 1 year of the cattle drive. You realize that?
Yeah. That is.
Louisville last year,
We
we
started
unveiled this.
Kansas City. Yep.
Yep, you bet. We were going to try in Kansas City, and we made her happen in Louisville. So we're coming up
Yep.
in a year. And anyway, hey, man, have a good week, and we'll catch up with you next week.
All right. Take care, bud.